order. First up would be the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is the May 23rd, 2022 Selectmen's meeting, Select Board meeting. First up would be the acceptance and correction of minutes from 5/9/2022, public and non-public.
Mr. Chair, since you have a member participating remotely, would you mind doing a roll call?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion, we approve the 5/9/2022 public and non-public minutes as presented.
Second.
Motion by Kelly, seconded by Collis. This will be a roll call vote. Jim?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
Myself's a yes.
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 Okay. I have an announcement. Supervisors of the checklist will be in session at the Goffstown Town Hall, 16 Main Street, Goffstown, New Hampshire, downstairs in room 109 on Tuesday, May 31st, 2022, from 7 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. for the purpose of making corrections to the checklist and for new voter registration. Changes of address and party affiliation changes can be made at this time also. This is the last day to change your party affiliation prior to the New Hampshire state primary in September. If you are registered to vote, please bring photo ID, proof of date of birth, and residence address. Anyone not born in the United States must also bring a proof of citizenship. Any person with a disability, he needs to be provided a reasonable accommodation to participate. Please call Town Hall at 497-8990, extension 100, at least 72 hours in advance so the arrangements can be made.
Mr. Chair, there's one other that we left on the table for you.
Yep. Another announcement, the Goffstown Department of Public Works announces night road painting in the Penaville and North Mass Street area on Sunday, May 22nd, 22, and Monday, May 23rd, 2022, that's this evening, starting at 9 p.m. Crews will be painting stop bars, crosswalks, parking spots. Please use extra caution and keep off areas with wet paint marks with cones. Please contact Goffstown Public Works at 603-497-3617 with any questions, and thank you for your patience. Derek, you want to start?
Sure. If you go to tab 5A, you'll see your committee meeting schedule for the next 2 weeks. Tomorrow night at 6 p.m., the budget facility tours start. Those start at DPW.
I'll be there.
Okay. Thank you. Wednesday, 6:30 p.m., the HCC meets at Grassmere Town Hall.
Yep.
And at 7 p.m., Conservation Commission.
Have it.
On Thursday, the Planning Board will be here at 7 p.m.
I have that as well.
Next Monday, just a reminder, Memorial Day, Town Hall will be closed. On Wednesday at 6 p.m., the EDC meets here in this room. I believe that's you, Selectman Craig.
Yep. Got it.
And Thursday at 6 p.m. will be the first meeting of the CIP committee.
That's me too.
That's,
Right.
okay.
That's also Jim, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Thank you. At your next page, you have your consent agenda. You have a DPW solid waste attendant discharged for employee status reports, solid waste foreman retirement, IT help desk technician a rehire, a full-time firefighter AEMT resignation, a part-time firefighter EMT resignation, a firefighter to firefighter AEMT merit increase, a DPW truck driver new hire. You have 2 seasonal engineering interns new hires and 4 DPW seasonal laborers new hires. There's a CBA sidebar with the Goffstown professional firefighters for an educational incentive. You have event permits for the library outdoor skywatch on June 29th, the police department bicycle rodeo on July 17th, and the Brewfest Mountain Base Brewery 553 Mass Road on June 25th. And then you also have a warrant for the Lynchville Danish Park Drinking Water Betterment Assessment in the amount of $20,041.66.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Yep.
Okay, I have one comment on that, Derek. One of the seasonal, as the chair is supposed to sign all the new hires, that wasn't completely filled out, didn't have any wages in it.
Okay.
So I didn't sign that one yet.
Okay,
So
we
once-
will rectify that one and
Okay.
pull that one out.
As amended?
Sure.
Yep.
Any other questions, comments? Jim?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
Myself's a yes.
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 Thank you. On your next page, you have the assessor's recommendations. You have tax deferral for elderly or disabled, approval recommended for map 36, lot 65. You have a veteran's tax credit application, approval is recommended for map 3, lot 65F-6. You have the elderly exemption, approval recommended for map 33, lot 30. You have a land use change tax bill and tax warrant, approval is recommended for map 6, lot 46. You have an application for current use assessment for approval recommended for map 8, lot 48-22. You have 2 abatement applications, both a denial is recommended for map 4, lot 97, and map 21, lot 119-1. And then you have a report of timber cut and timber tax warrants, approvals recommended for map 12, lot 10, and map 4, lot 87-6.
Motion to approve the assessor's recommendations as presented this evening.
Second.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Collis. Call for a roll call. Jim?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
Myself's a yes.
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Motion passes.
At tab 5D, the town needs to appoint the fire chief as the town's forest fire warden, and you have the form in your packet for that.
Motion to recommend the appointment of Fire Chief Sean Murray as the town of Goffstown's forest fire warden.
I'll second, but I have a question.
Okay, second for discussion, is that what we're doing?
Thanks. Just on the motion to recommend the appointment, what's the additional part of that?
You're making the recommendation to the State Division of
So
Forest
we're
and
writing
Lands.
the- Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
We have a motion on the floor by Mark, seconded by Kelly. Roll call. Jim?
Yes, sir.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
Myself's a yes.
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Motion passes.
At tab 5E, you have a volunteer appointment. The recommendation, the Goffstown Economic Development Council met on May 4th and made the recommendation to appoint Melanie Renfrew-Hebert as an alternate member with a term expiring March 31st, 2023.
I'll make a motion to appoint Melanie Rumford-Hebert as an alternate member to the Economic Development Council with the term expiring March 31st, 2023.
Second.
Motion by Kelly, seconded by Collis. We'll vote. Jim?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
Myself's a yes. Kelly?
Yes.
And Collis?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And at tab 5F, you have the acceptance of a revocable temporary license. This is for a private drain connection to the town's stormwater drainage system at 34 Winter Street, map 39, lot 5-7.
I'll make a motion to allow private drain license on 34 Winter Street, map 39, lot 5-7.
Second.
Motion by Kelly, seconded by Mark. Any discussion, questions? Seeing none, call for a vote. Jim?
Yes.
Mark?
Yep.
Myself's a yes. Kelly?
Yes.
And Collis?
Yes.
Motion passes.
That's all I have for our town administrator.
And right on time to be town pass. Is there anybody here in the audience here for public comment? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment. We don't have anything for another 5 minutes unless the people are here that,
Yep, they're both here.
they're both here?
Yes.
So we have an appointment with Easy Express Car Wash LLC, request for revocable temporary license to allow installation of a freestanding sign in the town's rail trail right-of-way, map 5, lot 49-1-1.
All right, good evening. My name is Nick Golan. I'm a licensed engineer and principal with the firm TF Moran. We had assisted Mr. Andy Ezekiel in regards to his site plan and subdivision approvals associated with the Easy Express Car Wash located on Tax map 5, lot 49-1-1. As part of those approvals, there was a freestanding sign shown both on their approved subdivision and site plan to locate the proposed freestanding sign within the Goffstown Rail Trail right-of-way. I should say right outside of it. Wouldn't actually impede the design of that element itself. The site design was very much done in cooperation with the rail trail. Have an individual here could also attest to that. So we're here to, as part of this appointment, to request a license for that freestanding sign. It's my understanding the board selectmen should have been provided the components that we submitted as part of our request.
Derek, do we have any of these on the rail trail now?
We don't. We have other. When the town purchased the rail trail in 2004, a survey was done, and existing structures were identified. Sheds, fences, and revocable licenses were signed between the town and those property owners. This is the first such request where we have a request to place a sign within this specific right-of-way. There are some others that are immediately adjacent, but they are on, for one example is the Shell station, and that was existing prior to the purchase, and that's kind of right adjacent to where it is, but it is on their property, whereas this is on the town's rail trail. So yes, we have had similar ones for existing ones, but this is the first such request.
I thought you said it was just outside the existing right-of-way.
So it's within the actual right-of-way. It's outside the area of the rail trail.
Okay.
So we know that there's no impact there. As part of the site design that we put together, we worked with the Friends of the Rail Trail to make sure that we could cohabitate within the space provided.
Okay, and the sign went through the normal processes in planning and zoning?
It complies with the requirements of the zoning ordinance. The only item would be that we as staff cannot approve a business sign on town property without the benefit of this license. But otherwise, it does comply to zoning in its size and its location and its manner of illumination.
Anybody got questions? Well, the obvious question is, will this open it up for anybody can put a sign on town property?
I would say that there is a provision in the zoning ordinance that you cannot have signs located off premises. So we do not allow for billboards. However, we did research this subject matter, and because the lot is immediately adjacent, it is my interpretation as the acting zoning officer right now that this is on premises. It is, again, on the town property, but it is immediately adjacent to this, so it would be on premises. Could you have a similar request for freestanding signs within the rail trail right-of-way when you have a commercial lot immediately outside? You may have that request again. If they did not get this relief, their freestanding sign would be approximately 80 feet back from the road. And when you're traveling 40 miles an hour on that road, most of the customers are not going to see the freestanding sign until it's too late and they've passed by. So yes, you may get future requests from other property owners that develop theirs, but this is the first such that you've received.
So we do have it in the ordinance, it has to be adjacent to the property.
It needs to be on the premises.
On the premises.
On the premises. And again, because this was, the rail trail was a perpetual easement from property owners almost 170 years ago to the railroad, I would consider it on premises as it's immediately adjacent.
Question.
Go ahead.
Will the construction or the installation of the sign impact the rail trail in any way? Cross
No.
traffic, anything you need to do?
In this case, it actually ends up being a benefit, given that it was a coordinated effort through the owner and the Friends of the Rail Trail. They're actually installing many of the improvements for the rail trail itself. So it'll actually be a benefit in this case versus a hindrance. So there'd be no negative impact with the construction of the sign relative to the rail trail.
Sure, I just, and I appreciate that certainly, but I meant in the time that will take to construct wiring or anything like that, is there anything that we need to be aware of
So
to
as
alert
part,
patrons of the
no, that's a great
rail trail?
question. So as part of the approval with the planning board, there's specific signage that's required to be mounted along the rail trail to make sure that there are no adverse conditions during that construction process. Relative to trenching of underground lines, otherwise, it's a good question. I can certainly follow up to make sure that we have an answer and that there's no negative impact there for any period of time during construction.
Great, thank you.
So what benefits will the rail trail realize?
Certainly. So on sheet C4 of our site development plans, it shows proposed improvements to take place across the driveway associated with this property.
That's the second sheet in your packet.
Thank you.
And they're also shown on sheet S4 with a little bit more detail regarding pedestrian and bicycle crossing signage, additional striping, shimming, and actually, would it be possible perhaps to have some commentary as to what those improvements are and how that's a benefit, if that's okay with the chair would invite me up.
I was going to invite you up, David, as soon as I was finished hearing from.
He can say it better than I
Jeff
can, I
Moran.
think.
He probably already has it priced out as well, I'm assuming.
Correct.
I guess my question, David, if you do want to come up, is the rail trail okay with this?
Good evening, Board. I'm David Pierce, and an officer and friend of the rail trail. Our organization as advises to the Park Department for trail construction, we have no problems with the signage. There are benefits to the trail. Not only is the property developer constructing the trail at his expense and in partnership with me, because my organization is bearing part of that expense too. The board already accepted a donation of that trail improvement. I see a benefit too, because that trail is that sign is located between the trail and the public road, and I would expect that the property owner would want to do proper maintenance of the landscaping in that area to make his facility attractive. And so that's another benefit of the trail. That part of the corridor would be properly cared for. You mentioned revocable licenses. There are perhaps 25 of these revocable licenses already for various portions of the rail corridor. So, this license is not unusual.
Derek, what's where that sign is located? I'm looking at it here. When they're pulling out, will they still have good line of sight both ways?
Yes, they should, because both the stops are beyond that, so,
Okay.
yes, they should. And we can, if you prefer, we can also just double check with planning on that.
Yeah, I would just make sure.
I think if you look at the next page, the height of the sign, you have 91 clear inches, so.
And I can also offer, relative to this process, it did require a DOT driveway permit, so we had to evaluate those sight lines and make sure they were consistent with the state's requirements. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to issue a driveway permit.
I just don't want to have somebody trying to inch out to see if there's somebody coming. All right, anybody else got any questions?
Can I ask a question?
Go right ahead, Jim.
Thank you. I'm just curious, I don't know if anybody can answer this, but the sign that was just put up in front of the Parks building, is this any way similar to that one? And I mean in terms of height and distance from the actual walking surface of the rail trail?
Actually, it's closer to the road, Jim. The one at Parks and Rec is on the other side of the rail
Right.
trail. This is going to be on the road side of the rail trail. I don't know if
Right,
you've
but I
got your
just-
packet in front of you to see it, but
But my question is, how far is it on either side away from the actual rail trail where people walk and bicycles? It said it's about the same distance? Because I think that other one doesn't impede on the rail trail at all. And,
go ahead, David.
all right, no, but
No, go
nobody
ahead.
can-
Hold on, Jim. David's going to try to answer your question.
As with all of the revocable licenses, the basic concept is that whatever the feature is that the abutter has on the town's property, it doesn't impede the flow of pedestrians and bicyclists on the 10-foot wide path. That's the basic premise before the licenses are considered.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you, Dave.
Anybody have questions?
Well, I just will note.
Go ahead, Carlos.
That, yeah, they have to get permission initially to place the sign through the planning board, which they've done. And then there's also a condition of approval that says that tree trimming and brush clearing needs to be done so as not to obstruct the site distances, so the planning board took that in consideration.
All right, great, thank you.
There are no trees.
Yeah. Anybody else got any questions? We have a motion?
I think it's just the hearing. Can we vote tonight?
Yeah, there is no hearing, but yes, if you approve, I would say the approval would be to grant the revocable temporary license as presented in your packet for map 5, lot 49-1-1.
Somebody just made that motion?
I'll make the
Yes.
Kelly made the motion, it was seconded by Mark. Any other questions? Jim?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
Myself, say yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, motion passes.
Thank you very much. We have that formal paperwork with us. You can drop that off with United.
Yeah, and I can get the signatures this evening. Thank you.
Fantastic. All right, thank you again.
Thank you.
Right.
And that segues into our next topic, which is under new business, temporary signs on town property, Parks and Rec electronic message center, and flags on the town-owned village lamp posts. We're going to new business. As far as the flags, Derek, we're researching that.
So, just for a bit of background, I know that the chair has benefit of some of the background because I spoke to him about this last week. Last week, we got 3 separate requests that we have no policy for in town. One was for temporary signs on town property. The school is seeking to advertise the need for signage for their bus driver help. We have no policy on temporary signs, whether it be for that or for really special event permits. And I'd like to develop a policy for that and get any feedback from the board on that. We've also received requests from nonprofit organizations to post on the Parks and Recs electronic message center board. Now that that's been up, again, we have no policy on that. So like I guess your blessing to develop a policy on that. And finally, we had a request from a resident to place flags on the town-owned village lampposts. Historically, we've allowed the high school to place Goffstown flags at graduation. Main Street has done wreaths at the holidays, and you see the ones that are out there now that were put up for Old Home Day. Otherwise, we have not done any of those, and with a recent court case out of Boston that went to the Supreme Court, I felt it would be prudent before answering that resident that you develop a policy. So that one I have reached out to the town attorney for assistance on, but I guess I'd welcome any feedback that you might have in hopes of bringing some draft policies to you on your meeting on June 13th.
Calls?
So I'm just curious, so a resident has asked to place flags on our lamp
Yes,
posts?
yes.
We have no background on what it is or anything, we're going to develop that through a policy.
I think it'd be better to develop the policy within
Okay.
getting
Okay.
into the specifics of any one
Sure.
request.
Yeah. And as far as the message board at Parks and Rec, I'm not surprised that issue came up before we agreed to allow that to go forward. We said, well, we'll do that under a policy development, so that's where we are.
I think we need to develop a policy.
Yeah.
There's no
Has
doubt about
Parks and Rec spoke at all about
We
those
talked about it
requests?
at Parks and Rec, and in fact, Scott Gross approached Parks and Rec about advertising for bus drivers. And I told him, I said, well, I'm not really sure if that's prudent at this. I know we need bus drivers. I know that the STA or the bus company needs bus drivers, but it's still a private organization hiring, putting people up there for hire. And that, I'm just afraid that might open up a hornet's nest. So that's something we gotta look at.
I'm real sensitive to that, Peter. Who knows what's going to go up there? Are they going to be changing? Are they going to be motions? Are they going to, who's allowed to do it? Who's not allowed to do it? How are we going to differentiate between the two? How are we going to,
And I think that's the same reason for the signs in town common or on town property.
Yeah.
Where Scott's trying to attract bus drivers. But here again, it's a private company now. Does anybody that works for the town get to do that?
Right.
Whether it's John Neville does work for Parks, for the rail trail or somebody who does work for DPW, will they all be allowed, in the same vein, you know, that it's a private company even though they're working for the town. So I think we need to be careful of that. Mark?
I agree that we do need to set up some sort of a guidance or guide for this particular issue here. I would like just to hold off to see what we get from the town's attorneys. We could spend 2 or 3 hours doing something.
We find out we wasted our time.
Exactly,
because we don't have
wasted our time. So I mean,
I would get an authorization to have Derek talk with the town attorney and come up with yeses and nos. I think you know where we're coming from, where somebody else has got something. I'm nervous about allowing private businesses to advertise on the town property.
Does Jim have any?
That and-
Pardon me?
Do you want to ask Jim if he has thoughts?
Who?
Jim, on the phone?
Oh, Jim, I'm sorry.
Craig?
You're pointing out
Sorry,
as a Jim.
I'm listening. Well, you know, when I saw this, my immediate concern was, you know, I've seen some, on private property, but I've seen some terrible flags and signs and things around. And I don't want to be, you know, we got to be careful about that stuff too. You know, if you let one person say what they, you know, put one flag up, then somebody else wants to put another flag, you know, the unintended consequences and things. So I think it's, and the First Amendment rights and all that stuff. So I think it's important that whatever we do, we need to be respectful on public land anyways, with what we do. If we're going to let private people put whatever it is they want to put on public land, I think we ought to control that. And I don't even know if that's legal with the First Amendment rights. So I'm all for the for Derek talking to the attorneys. I don't know what that Boston case said. That's my 2 cents.
And I'm also concerned, Peter, on the effect it's going to have on the rural character of certain areas in town, and so that's that whole issue too.
You don't want to bring anything into town that's going to cause a division either, so.
Right.
That's not what we want. So,
no,
go ahead, Kelly.
Mark, do you?
you're all right. Go ahead. I'll go ahead.
I have a couple thoughts. Just first, that I think that we should look at the temporary signage and the Parks and Rec sign as something different because it's more messaging, and whatever the policy is for the light posts, to do that separate. And I also wonder if we consider something that's town and then an amendment that includes the SAU and what limits they have, and then if we decide on nonprofits or whatever it is for additional things. But my first instinct is to, not that I want to limit anybody from utilizing the electronic sign, but I think that it's so new and Parks and Rec is still working out its messaging for what they're going to include and how they're going to include it, that we should potentially still create a policy but leave it as just Parks and Rec or just town things first, so that it's not overwhelming for them. Like, let's see what they need and how they need to operate it and how many, you know, alerts and messages we're putting out, and give them a moment to just use it and see.
So the thing is,
Does it have a limit? I mean, I don't know.
when you say the town thing, when the school is asking to use that sign to advertise for bus drivers, is that a town thing?
Well,
That's the policy that we need to determine.
And the devil's in the details, and there's lots of them.
correct.
Right.
And that's why I said I think
How long
it
can the
should
message
be-
stay up? Who can put them up?
Right.
Who authorizes the wording? And you know, how can they be dynamic signs or the static signs? I mean, there's all kinds of issues that need to be considered.
And I don't know if you're going to have that information in 3 weeks or not, or.
So
enough.
I will say
Let's
for
get
the-
started on something.
For the electronic message center one, we actually have been, I've been working with Rick and Aaron at Parks and Rec, and we actually have a pretty good draft that I think will be ready for you in 3 weeks. Temporary signs, I think we found a few templates from other communities as good starting points. The flags is a little bit more complicated, and that's, we'll have to involve the town attorney on that, and then have him review any policies that are developed. Because again, once you allow messaging on public property, you open yourself up when you then tell somebody, no, you can't do messaging on public property.
So
That's what I'm saying. you know.
I had a thought on the flags as well. So all of the with the exception of the graduation, I guess, but that would potentially fall under an SAU category because I think they put up flags when the basketball team went to state, didn't they? So things like that.
Yeah,
where it's
they've done it a
celebratory.
couple times.
Right, so that could fall potentially under the school's limits and what we give them to. But then, you know, Lions Club is a local nonprofit, Main Street is a local nonprofit, and both of these events that they put things up for, the holiday season, Memorial Day and Veterans Day, those are federally recognized holidays. So I don't know if there's something pertaining to that with, I don't know if we can limit who or how or under what guise. Like, I don't know if we can just limit it to nonprofits with the direction from the Supreme Court ruling, or if we could limit to pertaining to holidays or things of federally recognized holidays. I don't know, but those are just my initial thoughts. I would like to keep it school and
Is
town.
it federally and then it comes to town and it's,
Yeah, I'm guessing whatever we come up with a draft, we're gonna want to run by our
I mean-
legal counsel to make sure that.
so I think the direction we're headed in now is on 6/13, you'll bring back something. Okay, even if we don't get it all done, you can bring back some ideas, you can bounce them around and see
Okay.
what's going on.
Yep.
And let's leave some time for that, because I can see there's gonna be some discussion on it. Mark?
And as far as signage placement, Peter, I mean, the school itself already has signs in place, Bartlett School, and I've seen them place on Bartlett School sign, bus drivers needed. I mean, and the kindergarten on the back road, I mean, there's another sign there. What's the matter with using those signs? Just, I mean, signs are signs, is the way I look at it.
They're just, you know.
But that's
if
the
this-
distinction we have to make if we give the school an option.
Yeah, but the school owns the signs, it's theirs, it's their,
Yeah, this would only be for town
Town
properties,
property.
not the SAU or the
Right.
schools.
let's wait and see.
Technically, it's still town properties.
It is, but it's, I guess, covered by a different governing body.
I know, and when I did the addition over at the softball field, I had to sign it,
Yeah.
so. Anything else? Let's go over, continue, let's go on to, anything else in new business?
No.
Let's go on to the old business. Number one, still nothing yet.
Still working on that one, yes.
Out of service vehicles, it's the same. Jim, have you got anything you want to bring up?
I don't. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have something.
Go ahead.
Derek, can we add the department head reviews to the action matrix? please?
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah,
Seeing none?
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, go ahead.
The pedestrian bridge fell off the matrix, did it?
Yes, we've got the ad hoc, and I hope to have volunteer applications for you on June 13th so
And
that
a
you can
revised
name.
charter for the,
We have the revised charter, you already approved the revised charter, so
Okay.
at this point you
Nope.
just need to appoint,
yeah, I
so.
hadn't seen it up on the website.
Yep, we will get that up this week.
Okay, take a motion.
Do we need to do one public comment?
Oh, yeah.
Just-
Is there anybody else here for public comment? Seeing none? Move on.
I'll make a motion, we go under non-public session, RSA 91A:3, 2E, compensation and negotiation of pending claims. Anything else, Derek, or is that it?
No, that's it.
Second.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Collis. That's a roll call. Jim?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
Myself, say yes.
Yes.
And Collis.
Yes.
That'll conclude tonight's public portion of the May 23rd, 2022 Select Board meeting. Thank you.